Well, this is the Speakeasy podcast where we talk about the behind the scenes of being the speaker and author, the journey, the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights, all of those things that people don't always talk about when they're trying to get you to publish a book. The reality is there's so much more to publishing and being an author or a speaker than what meets the eye, right? But I'm excited, guys. It's another episode. And this one is actually, I haven't done a topic episode in a while where we talked about something that was going on, but I feel as though this topic is one that definitely needs to be discussed. And it's that whole copyright war, right? Because we go through so much with putting our ideas on paper. We go through so much with publishing it. Then we get this great opportunity to be able to put our stuff out there to an even broader audience through it being a movie, a show, a play, any number of things. And then, dun, 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 copyright wars happen. And so if you don't know what I'm talking about, and I know I'm going to butcher his name, so I apologize in advance. But his name is Andrzej Sapkowski. And so Sapkowski is seeking approximately $16 million in royalties from this, from the Witcher game developer CD Projekt Red. And so it's first and foremost, let's go into this by saying, did you ever realize that your book could be turned into a game? Now, I knew that we had books that got turned into plays and books that were turned into movies and shows, especially Netflix right now is picking up a lot of different productions. So your book idea, even just the idea, could be picked up and, going viral in some way, shape, or form. But as a video game, whoa, right? That's major. Now, we always have this issue with the whole copyright infringement and copyright wars. And those of you that are on Facebook, you know that Facebook and social media in general has been doing a whole lot more with copyright infringement and not letting you play people's songs if you don't own the copyright to it, or if you don't say that you don't own the copyright to it. And they're putting you in Facebook jail, and even going as far as taking people's social media accounts and shutting them completely down. Now, they've given you an ultimatum for that. They've given you non-copywritten music, but that's a whole other episode. For this particular episode, I want to talk about the copyright wars. And since the beginning of time, since the dawn of time, I almost feel as though we've all been having this conversation about to copyright to not copyright. How far do you go with copywriting? And it's interesting because I feel as though with this particular conversation, this particular instance, that it was copywritten, but what happens after the fact? So I don't think it was so much that it wasn't copywritten. I think it was more so the contract. From what I was reading, it looked to be like it was more a little bit of what that copyright really covered and what the contract between them was going to say. Because what it is that this particular, and of course I wrote out all my notes because I didn't want to forget anything in this particular one. But the game was actually a huge success and has sold 33 million copies globally by the end of 2017. That is bananas. If we do the numbers, 33 million copies, and a new game that comes out can be anywhere from $20 up to about 60. I used to work in a toy store. So some of the newer games, when they come out, maybe are like $49.99, $69.99. So you do the math on that times 33 million copies being sold. That's just by the end of 2017. We're currently in almost the end of 2018. So imagine how many more copies have been sold. So some of the things that they that they were talking about is the fact that the contract that was in place was only for the first game. Now, the gamers in the audience, listen, don't shoot me in the foot. Don't shoot me in the foot. I only know a little bit about gaming. I'm not a huge gamer, but I do know that there are so many things that happen after that first game. If we think of games like Sims, Lord of the Rings, the ones that come from different movies, and any number of these games, Final Fantasy, there are other things that come with the game after the first game comes out. So what happened was they said that the contract does not include expansions. It didn't include other games. So, allowing the story to be implemented into other games and things of that nature. And it didn't include the DLC, which is interesting because I'm looking and I said, okay, now in a contract, when you're doing the contract, do you do it for what you think, for what you want to happen? Or do you want to protect yourself for what could potentially happen? And the reason why I say that is that a lot of times when we get into being a speaker or an author, we're thinking about the potential of right now. Am I right or am I wrong? We're thinking about potential of being on the stage right now. We're talking about the potential of selling the book right now. What's going to happen right now? But 10, 20, 30, 40, 500 years from now, are we really putting ourselves in a position to still get the success? Are we still putting ourselves in a position that we still own what it is that we're writing? Many times in the past, this whole copyright problem has come up. It's come up in the music industry. It's come up in fashion. It's come up in so many different areas. So don't think that if you're a speaker or an author, that copyright is not going to come at you. It is. So for those of you that put together workbooks and certain programs, it's your content. It's your content. You created it. So why not protect it? But we go into this whole battle of how far does that protection go? So as an author, as a speaker, how far does copywriting your books go? So for this particular author, because he's an author, I can understand, first of all, the potential and the excitement of getting a deal like this. What your books are going to be basically transcribed into a video game. First and foremost, who knew that could happen? Who knew that the potential was there? But then not only is this getting transcribed into a video game, but the potential of this particular video game can reach millions of people. And I guess because in the beginning, most people don't believe that video games, they don't see the popularity in it. They don't see, I guess they don't see, I don't know how you can't see it. That's the same way with movies and shows. Like, I don't understand how you can't see the potential there. So again, we go back to this contract. It's not so much it's the copyright part of it, but it's this contract between the two of them. So as an author, if you're putting your information out there, and I know a lot of you, and this is going to be a real dinger. You ready? Because a lot of you are signing up to be a part of collaborations, and you're not signing a contract. Don't worry. I'll wait. A lot of you are signing up to be, because this whole craze right now is being a part of a collaboration in order for you to gain exposure, in order for you to be able to be connected to somebody who's already doing things and being connected to this and connected to that. That's amazing. That's great. But the reality is are you really setting yourself up for failure, or are you setting yourself up for success? What's the contract that's being put in between those? What's the copyright that's going to happen if you put your information into someone else's book? How much of that information do you actually own? That part. And so many of you are like, oh, but it's my content, it's my information, I still own it. Okay. Go back to it and figure that out. Because you don't want to put yourself in a position where this is the discussion that you're having, and you may not be able to sue for 16 million. You may not even be able to sue for $5. But the reality is that, guess what? Your information is out there, and it's out there to be able to be used by anybody. So no, this is not a conversation that, most people want to talk about. No, this is not a conversation. Matter of fact, I've seen many people get frustrated by this particular discussion. I've seen people get angry because of this particular discussion, simply because it's like, if I'm doing all of this work, why wouldn't I protect my stuff? If I'm going to say, that I value what it is that I'm putting out here, why wouldn't I put myself in a position to be able to say, you know what? Let me get this done. Let me do this the right way. Because that's another piece that people miss, is they don't do it the right way. Because I can tell you, as somebody who was an author, especially in the beginning stages, I went and I did a no-no. I did a huge no-no. I'm going to tell you what that no-no was. So I went and I went and the first book, I didn't even ask about copywriting. I just wanted to get the book out. And I wasn't working with a publisher. I was self-publishing. And so I just wanted to get the information out there and get it done. Now, I went back and did everything that I needed to do to copyright it. And in all actuality, when you publish it, they see there's different things. When you save it on your computer, it's technically copywritten. Not going to believe that, but don't know if that'll hold up in court. But if you copyright it, you have the poor man's copyright. How many of you understand what the poor man's copyright is? The poor man's copyright is when I go and I take a copy of it and I send it to myself. So that way it has the postmark date on it. It has a stamp on it with the date. And then I put it somewhere. The only issue with this is that if I do it that way, what ends up happening is if something happens to it, or it gets destroyed, or it gets lost, I don't know how many people not everybody is as organized and keeps their stuff together. So a lot of times, poor man's copyright is not going to work for everybody. But poor man's copyright is when you send a copy of it to yourself. That is the easiest way to do it. If the same can be done digitally, you can send a digital copy to yourself. As long as you have that information of it being completed and sent with all the wording and everything. What you have to be mindful of is if you update it, then you need to send yourself the updated copy. That part. Not one of the things that they talked about, right? I know. So here it is. We have an author who connected and did a contract with this game producer, this game organizer. And, they have a contract, and the organizer of the game, they're looking at it from their perspective. They're saying they didn't go outside of the contract. Everything is still underneath the copywritten law that they came up with together. Everything that they had in the contract is still valid. And here it is. The author is saying, no, it's not valid, because it was only for the first game. And like we said, with games, that there are extensions, there are other games that, the game storyline is implemented into. So this is not something that people were paying attention to. And what ended up happening is $16 million lawsuit is going on right now. That's a lot. But look at how much they've made off of this person's stories. So short stories and books have been implemented into this game. And now this game, just by the end of 2017, sold 33 million copies globally. I think that's pretty successful, right? 33 million copies globally. Globally. Are you copywriting your work? As an author, as a speaker, are you protecting yourself? Now, this particular person, this author, he, I know I'm gonna mess up his name, Sapkowski, is protecting his work. He protected his work. He has a lawyer. He's going all in. And like I said, the gaming company that he's going after, they're saying one thing, he's saying another. They're hoping that they can come to an agreement outside of court, but you never know. Like I said, the company is saying that they're right. They did everything they were supposed to be able to do. But now you as a little person, you may not have access to a lawyer. Do you even have access to a lawyer? How many of you have heard of Legal Shield? So that way you can at least ask questions of a lawyer. You can have, if you have Legal Shield, literally you can go and ask questions of the lawyer, and you can send them a contract to look over before you sign it. There are so many ways for you to protect yourself as the author, as the speaker. And again, I know for me, I'm always putting out content. I create webinars, I do live trainings. I do something now where before I would do live trainings and I wouldn't, take that information with me. No, I always collect that information, that recording. If it's a virtual, if it's live, I record myself. I always keep that content because that is your IP, intellectual property. That is your intellectual property. And so even if you're speaking at an event, I still record myself because that is still my IP, my intellectual property. And what you will have people do, and it's sad, you'll have people who will go listen to your speech and go and turn around and give your exact speech verbatim. You will have people who will go and take your speech and create a book out of it. Now, listen, this is not something that people talk about often. This is not something that you hear people saying, "Oh yeah, no, I love it. Yeah, no, I don't record myself at all." No, if you talk to speakers that have been in the game for any length of time, I mean, real speakers, I mean, paid speakers, what you'll find is that, guess what? They make sure that they protect themselves. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They make sure that they protect themselves. Why? Because if they're not protecting themselves, then even by going and doing a live event, by doing a virtual telesummit, doing an event where you're going and you're speaking, doing a training, a free training, all of that is still your content. And if you're not careful, somebody will take that content and they will make money and profit off of it because you have not protected yourself. So what does that mean? As a speaker, as an author, here's some clear things that you need to do when you're going to do a free event. If you're going to train somebody for free, this is what you need to do. I always need to document. Meaning, I need to document what it is that I'm training you on. I need to type it up. I need to save it and send it to myself. Even if I'm not going to actually go out and get it copywritten, I need to do this so that way I have copies of that information before you go out to do the event. What ends up happening is I see so many people that do everything, they're reactive instead of proactive. And if you continue to be reactive, what ends up happening is you fall into a trap. Because if he had been reactive and not had a contract in place, then guess what? He wouldn't have been suing anyone for $16 million. He'd have just been out of luck. Or even if he would have tried to sue for $16 million, it would have been his word against the gaming company's word. And the gaming company definitely has a lawyer. If Netflix comes to you today or tomorrow and says, I want to turn your book into a miniseries, I want to turn your book into a movie, a Netflix movie, what are you going to say? And that's the reality of it. I would love to hear your feedback on it. That's the reality. If I tell you, if Netflix comes to you today, tomorrow, if Paramount, if Lionsgate, if any of them come to you today or tomorrow and say, I want to turn your book into a movie, I want to turn your book into a miniseries, I want to turn your book into a play, what are you going to do? Are you in the position legally to be able to sign something and say, okay, yes, I can do that. This is how much I'm looking to get percentage wise. This is what I would, what is included. This is not what is included. Because listen, let's be honest. So we know that with the game, there's other things that are attached to it. If you go and say you're signing a contract to do a miniseries with your book, so your book turns into the miniseries. Okay, so what happens when that miniseries goes to DVD? What happens when other networks want to pick up that miniseries? You see why it's so important to have the legalities of it in place beforehand? What happens if that miniseries now turns into a movie? What happens when they start making products centered around that miniseries? See, we always think about the small things. We think about the here and the now, but are you really looking at the future of this? Let's be honest. Are you really looking at the future of what this can actually be? If somebody makes a lunchbox and your mini series is the picture on the lunchbox, is that money going to you or is it going to somebody else? That's what you determine. When you say yes, that's what your yes is. That's where your yes leads you to. That's what your yes is all about. And so I had to come and talk to you guys because I feel as though it's not a conversation that we're having as authors and speakers. It's not a conversation that people who are training or working with authors and speakers are having. I don't know if it's out of fear. I don't know if it's out of miseducation. I don't understand what that may be as to why we're scared to have this conversation. But I know when I first started looking at publishing my book in 2010, when I first started looking at it, looking at the publishing piece of it, that was one of the things that you saw that was blasted all across everything is you don't own the rights or you do own rights. What does that mean? What are you going to be able to do with those rights? What are you going to be able to do with this book? What you can't do with this book? What about the photo? I know even with photos, listen, someone not too recently got into got into a lawsuit, I guess, with I think it was Nicki Minaj. And Nicki Minaj had the cover for her CD. It's some guy that's, okay, I won't say what he's doing, but it's some guy and you see the guy's back and you see his tattoo. Well, he said he never posed for that picture, nor did he ever offer that picture for it to be, something that could be used for a CD cover. Heaven only knows how the people that got the picture got it, but this is what happens. So apparently they got the picture, they put it out there on the CD cover. Somebody saw the picture, and because his tattoo is so unique, it's so different, they knew it was him and said, when did you pose for this picture? We got to be careful about what we're putting out there, guys, because at this point in the technology age, everything has the ability to be somebody else's at some point in time. So yes, his picture ended up on Nicki Minaj's, I want to say it was Nicki Minaj. I think it was Nicki Minaj's cover. Guys, not something that you want to have happen, that you're looking at Netflix and your book is a Netflix movie or a Netflix show and you have absolutely no understanding of how it got there. Or even worse, you're not getting paid for it. It's on Netflix and you're not getting a dime, that part. So you definitely want to make sure that you're protecting yourself through and through. That's one. You had another one where somebody came at, I believe it was, oh my goodness, there's been so many. There's been so many copyright infringement when it comes to different songs. So think about it. What if somebody took a poem that you wrote? Because remember, when we're thinking about being an author or a speaker, poetry is stolen on a regular basis, because you never think that somebody's going to pay attention to the poem that you wrote. Something else that's always out there, that's always being taken and used in different instances are quotes. Quotes. If you don't have quotes, if they're not attached to you in some way, meaning you have them in a book or you have them online, you have them somewhere where your name is somewhere in that area, then a lot of times you have people that are just throwing around quotes that they heard from other people. Heck, people quote the Bible and don't even realize that they're quoting the Bible at this point. At this point, they don't even realize they're quoting the Bible, because they just heard a quote and they just liked it and kept saying it. It's kind of like, you get it the first time, and the first time you give somebody credit, and then the second time it's, somebody else said, then like by the fifth time, it's like, I always say. That is how it works. And it's sad to say, I'm laughing about it, but it's sad because this is literally how it works. If you're not protecting yourself and copywriting your work, then that's how it works. Is the first time they may give you credit for it, but don't expect them to give you credit each and every time. And then when it comes to the dollars and cents, definitely do not expect them to give you credit or money without you making sure your name is on that body of work. So as an author, as a speaker, have you been copywriting your stuff? Have you been protecting your digital products? Have you been protecting your books? Have you been protecting your content when it comes to your speeches? Have you been protecting yourself? Now, if you're in the beginning stages, it's not to say that you need to run out and copyright everything. Again, we talked about in the beginning that there was this whole poor man's copyright. That was one of the ways that I was copywriting my poems earlier on, because I didn't have the money to go out and pay somebody to copyright each and every one. So I just went and did the poor man's copyright. Now, at this point, if I could I can't even tell you where the envelopes may be, because I've moved multiple times since then. I think that was like back in high school that I learned about poor man's copyright, y'all. Yeah. It's bad. That's why I said you got to make sure that you are protecting yourself. Okay, so I hope that they're able to get everything together and to be able to realize what's needed, what needs to be fixed, what needs to be changed in a contract, if something needs to be changed or whatever. I don't know if he'll get his $16 million from the CD Projekt Red, but I hope that Sapkowski, gets whatever it is he needs. But it definitely, again, puts in the forefront us as authors and speakers. What are we doing when it comes to our content? What are we doing when it comes to us putting our information out there? Are you just letting it go and not doing anything with it? I've made it a habit that even when I do live streaming, I have recordings of all of my live streams. I have copies of all of my live trainings. I have it all. Why? Because guess what? It's my IP. It's my intellectual property. And if I want to go back and change those things into workbooks or change them into books and blogs or whatever I want to do with them, I can. I don't have to ask permission from anybody. But some of you have been doing free trainings for forever and you don't have none of the content. You have been doing free trainings for forever and have not done anything with the content. That speaks volumes. So that part, I need you guys to understand that, again, the Speak Easy podcast is here for you. We're here to make sure that you see the behind the scenes, the ins and out, the good, bad, the ugly when it comes to being a speaker or an author. Copywriting your content is very important. Even if you have to start out with just doing the poor man's copyright, I get it, I understand. Not everybody has the finances to do it at the highest level, and that's okay. But you have to do something to protect yourself because you don't want to get to a point where you are really putting stuff out there and just giving it away for free, because that's what it is. If somebody comes today or tomorrow and wants to make your book or your speech into an hour-long special, is it yours, or is it something you've been just putting out there and now you can't even claim it? That part. And not everybody, and this is the other thing, is that not everybody's going to tell you what you need when it comes to copywriting. So make sure that you have that conversation, because it's not one that everyone will have with you, and it's not one everyone's going to be honest about. That's, I think, the worst part of it, is that there are so many out here that are dishonest when it comes to copywriting, that there are so many out here that tell you one thing, but they don't tell you everything. And it's because they may want you to keep coming back to spend more money with them, or because they want to get the most out of the contract, so they don't give you 100% of what's actually going to happen. So now I know we don't know what the contract looks like, but I would love to see what the contract says. You know, is this a contract where they're going and where they said to him that it was only for the one game and nothing else? Is this a contract where they said that it was for the one game and for maybe the extensions, or, you know, something along that lines? That's another reason why having Legal Shield has been really good, because you can send them a contract. But it's another reason why you got to be very careful when you're doing collaborations. That part, I know. And you guys know that I'm huge on networking. Networking your way to success is an amazing way to be able to gain access to people, opportunities that you never would have gained access to before. That's why I give you guys that 25 power networking tips in the book. Plug in bit.ly/plug in my voice is how you can get access to that. But that's why I give you those tips in that particular book, simply because I need you to understand networking is amazing. But when we're networking and collaborating with people, are we really doing our due diligence in researching what it is the collaboration is going to include? Same thing goes for book collaborations. A lot of you are going and running and jumping to be a part of these book collaborations. What does that mean about your content? What does that mean about the book? Is the book something that you can go and purchase copies to sell it? What price can you sell it? I was a part of a book collaboration where I didn't find out until after the fact that I had to sell the book at a set price, and I couldn't sell it at any other price than a set price. I didn't find out until afterwards that if I wanted to have my picture on the book, then I had to go and pay another amount. Like, there were certain things that were held out. And like I said, because, you know, not everybody tells you everything up front, or they tell you bits and pieces of it, or it's in a contract and we don't fully read out the contract. So you have to understand, I have to protect myself. I have to read the contract. And if you're not going to read it, you need to have somebody who is around you that can read the contract. If not, you set yourself up for failure. You set yourself up to potentially lose rights to your own work. You really can. And like I said, when it comes to, thank you, mods. When it comes to you as a speaker and author, protecting your work is top priority. If this is something that you're building, and this is for the paid speakers and authors, not for, I mean, if you're doing it as a hobby, you may not want to, you're not always going to be interested in putting this amount of time and energy into it, but you have to do your due diligence. You have to. And you have to do your research. It's important. So if he would have researched the company before, and maybe it would came up that they had did this before, then he would have known going into the contract what to put into the contract. I know we get excited. Now, let's be honest. As authors and speakers, when a great opportunity, like if somebody walks up to you and tells you that they want to make your book into a game and the potential is for it to be global and sell millions of copies, of course, it's a great idea. It's something that's really going to make you smile, jump, do backflips. You're going to be excited. You're going to look at all of those zeros on the check. You're going to say, you want me to sign where? But when we do our due diligence and we go ahead and do the research, we may see that this is not somebody who pays out. We may see that this is somebody who takes people's money and is not really giving you 100% of, honesty when it comes to the project. We could also put ourselves in a bind where they want us to be, top heavy, and they want us to invest all this money up front, and we don't have a clear understanding of when we would get paid or how much we would get paid after the fact. So we do have a lot to think about when we say yes to collaborating and networking with people and connecting. And again, it goes even back to doing the book collaborations, because we get excited about these book collaborations and then we don't understand what all is included, what's going on with your content. And just because somebody says out their mouth that you still own the copyright to your chapter or your content, that does not mean that that's what's going to happen. Is it in writing? That's something that I've learned. I've had that bump and bruise. I've learned it along the way. Is it in writing? If it's not in writing or somewhere where you can prove that that's what was said, it's your word against theirs. And we have to have that understanding going in. This is not about friendship. This is not about, oh, but that's my good girlfriend. That's my homie. No, we went to college together. No, this is not about any of that. This is not about, oh, but I've been following them on social media, because that's another one. We get all hype because we've been following somebody on social media and we feel as though that we know them. And I know, listen, social media has really done us dirty. There's the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to social media. And so we really feel as though we know people because we've been watching them for some time, but we forget that there's a lot of people that come on social media that only give you the highlight reel. They don't give you the bad and the ugly. They're not transparent with what's really going on in their lives, or transparent with what's really going on with them as a person in business. And so you're excited because you've been seeing this person and you're thinking they're doing great. And then you sign up for something and end up being on the losing end of that. Nobody wants to be on the losing end when it comes to money. Exactly. They don't always tell you what's going on, or the things that they tell you. How about this one? Because we all have been there where somebody is telling us all of these, all of these things that people have done to them, but they don't ever tell us what they have done. They don't ever tell us, a mistake that they may have made that led to somebody doing X, Y, and Z. And so if I sign a contract with somebody for them to utilize my content, and then I don't do that due diligence, and they go and use it any old type of way, they go and make millions of dollars off of it, and then I'm sitting here stuck, still trying to pay my rent, then what's the problem? We have a problem here, correct? There's a miscommunication somewhere in the road. And it's usually when things like that happen, it's not until after the fact that you start doing the research and you start hearing other people say, yeah, she did that to me too. Yeah, that's how she treated me as well. Yeah, I didn't like that she did that either. Or he. I'm not just going to say it's she's, because it's he's that do it as well. She or he. I don't like that they did that. Or this is something that they did a lot. There's a lot of complaints. There's a lot of bad reviews. Reviews speak volumes, guys. I'm going to tell you why reviews speak so highly of a person or a company or industry. Reviews speak volumes. I'm going to tell you why. People that love your products, they may leave a review. But when you do something that you're not supposed to do and people don't like your products, they will leave a review fast as heck. They will leave a review faster when they don't like something you do than if they do. When they love you, it's like pulling teeth. When you do something wrong, they'll run and have everybody do a review, and they were the only ones that use your product. So you have to be willing to go and look at the reviews. Look at the reviews, even on Facebook. Look at product reviews. Look at the company itself. Google is your friend. Uncle Google will tell you a lot. Uncle Google is that drunk uncle at the cookout that gives all the details about everybody in family. That's who Uncle Google is. And so sometimes we just got to do that Uncle Google search and see what's really going on. So I don't know if this particular company has done this before in the past. I don't know if this was their first time venturing out with utilizing an author. I love the idea of gaming companies utilizing authors to create the storylines. Hey, I know a ton of authors that would love some of you gaming companies to come their way. Just come on, email me, contacts@altovise.com. That would love to have you come their way. They have some amazing storylines that could be some great, again, hey, Netflix. They have some great storylines, Lifetime, that would be great for some shows and plays. And, a lot of times it's just that one connection that will put you in position to be able to, have that experience, but make sure you're doing your due diligence. So in talking about that topic for today, I thought it was very important to share that piece of it out. And, I hope that this was able to help you a little bit, because it's not a topic that people talk about when it comes to being an author or seeker. Is copywriting your stuff. Copyright. Now, are you going to copyright every single thing? No. Are there some things that need to be trademarked? Yes. But, what I'll do is I'll have a guest that'll come on that'll go more into detail about the process of copywriting and what that looks like. Because I think that we really do need to delve into this a little bit more. And like I said, 16 million, that's not a sneeze number. That's not a rub your eyes number. That's a pass out and faint number. So again, I hope he's able to get what it is he needs and that they're able to work something out. So exactly. Fair should be taken seriously. Fair use should be taken seriously. It definitely should. I appreciate, people telling me, that they're changing something or that they're doing something, or, if they're using a training and that training is going to be used somewhere else. I appreciate them telling me that beforehand, not just utilizing the information. And then I'm thinking, that my content is my content, and that content is being used to train people all across the world. Okay, Houston, we have a problem. We have a serious problem, and it's happening more and more and more. Even, and I'll go so far as to say, even for those of you who are speakers who go and do co-training with other coaches, and you may do a training for one of their classes, even so far as that, because where are those replays going? Who's getting those replays? Where are those replays going? If they're selling the replays, are you getting any of the percentages of the sale? These are things that we need to think about, guys. Hey, Patricia, these are some things that we really need to think about. And so I know that copywriting is important. It's not something that we can just brush underneath the rug. As you see, $16 million. Yeah, that's a lot. That's not something that you can brush underneath the rug. But in the beginning, I can understand how it can be very scary. It can be very frustrating sometimes. But guess what? You have some amazing content. You have some amazing intellectual property. Don't allow it to be abused and misused. So with that being said, I appreciate you all coming in. Thank you for joining the Speak Easy podcast. I had to talk to you about that particular one. And listen, if he can get his story as a game, then what can your story be? Think about that. Take it to the next level, guys. Super excited. You guys know that I just got back from the Speak Easy podcast. No, just got back from the Love My Voice tour. Excited about some things that are going on with that. And then we're in the process of doing some revamping for the Speak Easy podcast, guys. So talking to some people this week about being sponsors and some other things that'll be coming down the pipeline. So you guys will hear more information. Stay tuned. Make sure that you hit the follow, share, invite. Those of you who are catching this over on iTunes or Spreaker, make sure that you leave a review. Go ahead and share that out. I appreciate it, guys. And if you have any questions, or if you yourself would like to be a guest on the Speakeasy Podcast, go to bit.ly/Speakeasy Podcast, all lowercase, in order for you to choose a date that works best for you to be a guest here on the show with who? Me, Altovise Pelzer, the voice coach, professional speaker, certified life coach, Amazon bestselling author, and podcaster. And guys, listen, we got great things out here. We're not putting it out here all for free. But until next time, guys, don't forget to press it out. See ya.